Are you a business owner or employee who needs to network but is terrified of walking into a room full of people you don't know? Are you afraid of being left out of conversations or being awkward in the conversations you do have? Your tour guide, Faithann, is here to walk alongside you through the networking terrain, offering tips and tricks to network with ease. She'll also bring insightful interviews with successful business owners who have used networking to expand their businesses. Building relationships is the heart of networking, and generosity is the cruise ship that will navigate you toward those important relationships for your business or career. Grab your sunscreen and suitcase. Faithann is ready. Are you?
Hello there, and welcome to the Networkers Tour Guide podcast. I am your host, Faithann, and I'm glad you found the show. Networking is providing opportunities for others that they would not have except for you, so that you have standing to ask for those same opportunities from people when you need them. How do we create opportunities for others, and how do we ask for those same opportunities? Well, that's what this podcast is all about. It's what I'm here for. So let's dive into episode 7. Episode 7 is all about the shyness factor. This is from Tour 48 from my blog at thenetworkerstourguide.net. Tour 48, the shyness factor. Now, I talked about the one-to-one meeting in episode 2 of the podcast, and I just want to remind you that a one-to-one meeting is a meeting with one person instead of talking with several at a networking group. From the networking group, you decide that you would like to have a one-to-one meeting with one person at a time from the people that you're networking with. So either you are invited to have a one-to-one meeting or you are the one doing the inviting. And in episode 2, I talk a lot about how to make that happen if you're the one doing the inviting. Now, this episode is all about wanting to have a one-to-one with somebody that you have met at a networking meeting, but you're very shy and you don't quite know how to make that meeting happen. The shyness factor is about how to overcome your shyness so that you strike up conversations with people in your networking meeting so that you can either right there at the networking meeting invite for coffee or at least have enough of a conversation, a memorable conversation, that then the person would remember you if you want to wait and do it through an email later on. The sooner you can do it, the better, though, if you're going to choose the email route. So the one-to-one meetings are so important, and shyness should not keep you from the privilege of a good conversation with another business owner. So let's try these 3 approaches to get one-to-one meetings with those you don't know well on your calendar without being awkward or pushy. The first tip is to offer a compliment. A compliment is that magic buffer that moves us from the land of tolerance to the land of friends. My friend recently had someone in her sights that she wanted to meet with. She told me that this person was about to get up and leave the meeting, and my friend realized that she only had a short window to talk to her, so she quickly gave this person a compliment. And like the spell of a sorcerer, the compliment worked and the meeting was set. So she moved from the compliment to the conversation, and then from the conversation, she was able to move to that one-to-one meeting invitation. We don't walk right up to people and say, "I love your shirt, can we have coffee?" But consider this example. You could walk up to someone and say, "I love your shirt. Tell me how it came to be in your closet." See how that invites storytelling? And they have a story to tell now that they didn't even know they had, and you have a story to listen to. From there, ask more questions, share your experiences, and then see if you can't get a coffee scheduled as a natural next step. You could say something like, "I loved hearing the story about your shirt." And then a few more sentences like, "I really enjoyed talking to you." Maybe reference something that you told the person, and then you say, "What would you think about us setting up a time to have coffee together so I could learn more about your business?" And again, it's that authenticity that's going to come out, because in your heart, that's what you really need to be asking. So in your heart, if you're thinking, "Boy, I would just love to get this person's business," but the words come out as, "I'd like to schedule a time for us to have coffee together so I can learn more about your business or learn more about you," but that's not really why you're asking. It's going to sound different. But if the reason you're asking is so that you can learn more about that person, you can learn how you can support that person in his or her business, that's going to come across. And the worst thing they can do is say no. That's the worst thing that can happen. Or they might just give you some kind of loose, vague commitment that they're not going to follow through on. I mean, at worst. I bet you, though, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get an agreement because you've already had such a great conversation and you've shown through a good conversation and asking good questions that you know how to give and take. You know how to be concerned and to be genuine. Now, another way you can move from being at a networking meeting with somebody to getting them to agree to have a one-to-one meeting with you is you could ask a question. And this one you want to research just a little bit. If you happen to know that somebody's going to be at the same meeting that you're going to be at, and you would just really love it if they would agree to sit down to have coffee with you, you could look at all of their social media and see if there's anything that you could bring up in conversation. Is there anything that you could ask a question about? Recently, I had an opportunity to meet a lender. Well, that lender is raising chickens. I found that out by going on his Facebook page. I mean, I didn't go specifically to find that out, but I was scrolling and sure enough, he's got chickens. So then I saw him about a week later. I was like, how are your chickens doing? And a big old smile came across his face. It was that door I needed to talk to him again and build rapport. So you could ask a question. If somebody just came back from a vacation, ask them about their vacation. If they just got married, ask them how the wedding was. So see if there's some things that they are bragging about on their social media accounts that you might use to ask good questions. And then same thing at the end. I've enjoyed talking to you. What would you think about us having coffee so that I can get to know you a little better, or I can learn more about you and your business?
Hi, listeners. Are you someone who struggles to ask engaging questions at your business lunches? Faithann has put together her list of 10 questions she uses when she is with a business owner over lunch or coffee. These questions build rapport and, more importantly, make that person you're talking to feel seen and heard. Go grab this free resource today by clicking on the questions link in the show notes.
Now, the last one is a little bit more sophisticated, and this might be something you want to try after you've been to a few networking meetings and you've had a few successes in inviting people to coffee. So this one is making an introduction happen. Again, it's all about providing those opportunities that people wouldn't have except for you. So if there's somebody that you would like to get to know better, you think that you could pass them referrals and they could definitely pass you referrals after that relationship is established, and you happen to know somebody that they might really like to know, you could ask for a 3-way lunch. So let's say you want to be in front of a florist because you own a funeral home. You're looking to sit down in front of a florist, but your sister is a wedding planner. So then you call up your sister and you say, hey, I want to get in front of this florist. I think we could pass referrals back and forth. I want to establish a relationship. I'm wondering if you might come to this networking meeting with me and I could introduce you to the florist. The florist might be naturally inclined to want to get to know you better because you're a wedding planner. If I make a coffee happen with the 3 of us, this florist might be really up for that idea. So that's something you can think about, this connecting people. And when you're connecting 2 people, if you can make a good connection happen, then they both walk away from that thinking more of you. And to the shyness factor, remember that when you're helping other people, often if you are laser focused on supporting and helping others, then that shyness kind of recedes into the background because you have a mission. You have something to accomplish, and you focus on that, and then you're not as self-conscious. You're making connections. You're asking people to have coffee with you and you're finding that they're agreeing to do that. And again, I say this so often to people, we all have value to give to others. And if we're all in the same room together, whatever circumstance brings us together in that networking meeting, then we do not have tiers of importance. If we're in a room together under the same networking organization or with the same host, then it's my contention that I ought to be able to ask anybody in that room if they'd be willing to have coffee with me. And the worst that can happen is they can say no, or they can be vague and not get back with me. But I'm not going to hold back on my desire to issue the invitation. I have just as much right as anybody else to ask them for their time, especially if I'm being generous and authentic and I'm not trying to extract commitments from them early on in a relationship. I'm trying to build a relationship. I'm not trying to take anything. And I know that that's my true intention. And if you know that's your true intention, then that will come out as you strike up these conversations and as you issue these invitations. So go network, my friend, and remember, you have value. Look to help others and let this be the confidence that catapults you into your next one-to-one meeting.
You've been listening to the Networkers Tour Guide podcast with Faithann Basore. Share this episode with a friend and be sure to come back next week for more networking tips and tricks from the Networkers Tour Guide.